Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. If you can, if you're able, turn your cameras on. It's good to see everybody present this morning. I hope you guys have had a blessed one so far. I'm excited to get into the discussion. As you guys know, or if you haven't been around for a little bit, we just started a new book for our discussion by John C. Maxwell. This book is known as the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And honestly, based on last week's discussion, it was extremely impactful. And I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's perspectives as we're covering chapters, I believe, 3, 4, and 5. Let me just triple check, make sure that we are on the same page real quick, real quick. Boom, 3, 4, and 5. Yep. Bow. Okay, so with that being said, if you haven't been around in a minute or you're brand new to the call, we kind of do this kind of like popcorn style. So we'll have somebody open us up with the conversation, and then from there they'll popcorn whoever. We were just talking about the biggest points that stood out to us, or something that was relatable, or something that we could actually be impacted by with what was being said. And then if you get popcorn, you'll share your perspective on the chapters as well. If you haven't read or caught up the entirety of chapters 3 through 5, all is good. We just ask that you're honest about it, and towards the end of the call, you know what I'm saying, you can give your biggest takeaway from the discussion that you heard as you were tuned in. But I am excited to hear everyone's perspectives. Again, chapters 3, 4, and 5. Let me make sure I don't have them listed here. I wanted to say the names, but all good. Now, does anybody want to kick us off to get started? Boom. Last week we covered the law of awareness and of intentionality. And then this week we dove into the law of the mirror as well as
Sure. I'll kick us off.
the law of reflection. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Appreciate you.
Okay, so we're going over chapters 3, 4, and 5 today. I
Yes,
actually
sir.
just finished reading today, so
The law of
I'm gonna
consistency is the last one. But
yes, bro. I have so much notes. It's kind of
yeah, let's
ridiculous.
go.
It's kind of
Let's go, bro.
ridiculous, but I'm gonna keep it short and sweet this week because I do got things to do after this. But check this out. As we're reading this book, I challenge y'all to really try to put it in your life, in your everyday life. I have been able to, through the grace of God, actually see a lot of things and open my mind to a lot of things that happened to me like towards childhood that helped me develop just from reading this book, right? One of them was that stop and think. Like um a thinking for a minute is worth more than talking for an hour. There's a quote in there that says something similar to that. And I'm a person that has a lot of trouble with anger. And I have very little patience for when things like I hate repeating myself like over and over and over. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people have these types, some same types of issues, right? And one thing I noticed is taking time to reflect is probably the biggest thing I've never done. And I truly mean that it's probably the biggest thing I never done because it's hard for me to evaluate situations to where you know that you were right about something and the other person was wrong and still having to evaluate how you assess that situation. And that's something that like I never really at the age of 28, I've never really thought about it. I've always thought when a person is wrong, they're wrong. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't really matter how you reacted because that person was wrong. You know what I mean? But that's completely far from the truth, right? So I'm gonna talk about the let me see. Every time you make a mistake, don't bring up everything that's wrong with yourself. Tell yourself that you're paying the price for growth and that you will learn to do better next time. That part. I was sitting down and I was talking to my wife Selena, and I was thinking about in my childhood of like how I really turned into an angry person and how I got this impatience from me. And I always thought it stemmed from me being older as a teenager, just going through like hormones, being rebellious and things like that. But it was far from the truth. It was actually the way I accepted things, right? I thought about how where my anger actually stemmed from, and I'm grateful that the Holy Spirit actually took me back to when I was in second grade and I got bullied by a fifth grader, right? And I remember coming home and I was crying because I wasn't really a fighter. Okay, like I wasn't a fighter at all. Like I was just a person that just really wanted to be around people. You know what I'm saying? Both of my siblings were older. They were like, they really wouldn't walk with me to school. I would walk and they would leave before me or they would just leave me behind. So I was kind of just walk by myself, you know what I mean? And one day I came home with a bloody lip and my brother got mad at me. He was like, who did it? Who did that? You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go back up there. Me being me, I was just like, I don't really want to put myself in that situation again. Like I already got punched by a fifth grader. I'm in second grade. I don't want to go do that. Right. And this is where I realized where my anger kind of set in because I kind of got that ultimatum from my older brother that, like, if you don't go beat him up, I am going to beat you up. I never got that. I never got that fight or flight example. I had to get that fight or fight. It's either I'm going to fight him or fight him. I never got the opportunity to run away. And ever since that, I had this stem of anger built in my head all the time because once I realized that I could fight, all I wanted to do was prove myself. All I wanted to do was show other people that like you did wrong, I'm going to prove you wrong. You know what I mean? And that reflection, I always thought reflection was a mirror. I always thought it was like looking yourself in the mirror and seeing who you are and how you actually like to carry yourself, but it's that is far from the truth. Reflection is a deep state of mind looking into your soul and seeing how you actually react to certain events that are happening in your life currently, past, and how you want to see yourself in the future. There are things that I am still trying to let go. There are things that happened to me when I was younger that are still arising. You see what I mean? Because yes, diamonds are built under pressure, but sometimes pressure can push things so far down that you completely ignore them. And that will stem to being the type of person that you want to be, right? And then it goes to chapter four. Let me see. Chapter four, it talks about the type of person that you are, right? Let me see. Dude, I can't even pronounce this word. I'm not even gonna cap. It's phlegmatic. Is it phlegmatic? That's the first type of person is phlegmatic. It's the strength of people, this personality. They are easygoing and likable, but their weakness is inertia, right? Mine is this one right here. The final personality is melancholic. How do you say
Melancholy.
that?
Like melancholy.
Yeah, that one. That's my type of. That's me. That these are life perfectionists. Attention to detail is their strength, but because they desire to do everything perfectly, they are afraid of making mistakes. Perfect example, Marcus, when you called me the other day. What was my excuse that firstly popped up? Do you remember what my excuse was?
And not doing what?
Remember when you're like, "Hey, bro, I need you to open team call. I need you to do
Oh yeah.
this." What was my
Oh yeah.
what was my first excuse?
Yeah. Bro, you didn't call me. You was like you didn't call. I wasn't aware of this at least like 24 hours, if I had like a day. And my response to you was like, bro, when is the last time I've ever given you 24 hours to prepare for something like this? He was like, you're right. He's like, all right, I
But
got it. I got it.
yeah, but the thing is, I don't like to do things unless I can prepare for it.
Yeah.
And if you always think that you're going to be prepared for things in life, newsflash, a lot of things happen. You get a flat tire.
That's a
Yeah, you know
bar.
what I'm saying? Your engine cracks. You run into someone who literally has no mental thought of like care. You know what I mean? But you still have to have that willpower of knowing like who you are and how you want to react as a person. You know what I mean? And that's right there is what's going to keep you consistent because figuring out what is your bad habits and actually going through and trying to tackle them and facing them head on. Do you remember the story of Moses and they were all walking through the desert and the Lord told them, hang up that staff with a serpent on them and anybody who looks into the eyes of it will be healed? It's pretty much like facing your fears and going through things that you shouldn't. If you're always doing things that you want to do, you're not going to do the things that you need to do. And I'm seeing that a lot in my life is I always try to put things off to later, 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 but later is never going to come because I'm not going to go. You know what I mean? That's one. And the last thing I want to leave off on this on chapter 4 is it's important in management never to ask people to try to accomplish goals they can't accept. When you write down your goals and you write down your whys, do you truly believe that? Do you actually accept your goals? Or are you just writing them down because somebody else wrote them down? Or are you writing them down because you want to fit in with the rest of the flock? Or are they your actual goals that you want to actually go after? You know what I mean? And the last part on chapter 5 is any reason to grow is a good reason as long as it's your reason. That's what I took from chapter 5. A lot that very last part when he's asking applying the law of consistency to your life. There's 1, 2, and 3, but any reason to grow is a good reason as long as it's your reason. No one is going to help you do your goal unless you are willing to help yourself with your goal. And if you don't even believe that you can accomplish your goal, you're gonna prove yourself right. And there's gonna be a lot of times where you don't actually go after what you really want to, and you're gonna be doing things that you only want to, and you're gonna be staying at the same spot. And this past couple of months, bro, I'm very thankful for this book because I've had conversations with Selena probably every time I got done reading. And I challenge her just as she challenges me. I tell her, write down these questions, answer them because they're true. And sometimes these questions will hit you on a spot where you don't know. That's where you start. What you don't know is where you need to start at. Remember the last book we read. Remember, there's two types of learning: what you taught, you know what I'm saying, and what you know. And then what you don't know is the second part of learning to go out there to actually figure out. But this time, it's not an outwards learning. This time, it's an inwards learning. Figure out what you don't want to accept about yourself and fix it, or just let it continue taking you down. But there's only going to be there's going to be a victor at the end of it. I just hope it's you. You know what I'm saying? All right. Well, that's pretty much it for my take on this. A lot of it was just a bunch of personal development and really looking literally looking inside. So I'm gonna popcorn. Let's go with Justin.
Good. Yo, what's up? I really had notes on the end towards the end, like chapter 5. Cause well, you can hear me, right? Good. Okay. So yeah, like throughout the week I was like working and reading, but now that I got more time to like write now, I felt like 5 was the most interesting and like it made me realize there's different types of ways of learning and progressing and taking like steps toward your goals. And there was different like types of personality traits that get people in different directions of success. And I was kind of like realizing that I think it was the last trait. It was what you said, melancholic. I had that trait of wanting to be like a perfectionist. Like I have that all the time too. If things aren't like right, sometimes I get in my head about it and I'm a big overthinker. So I also would say I have some development with that, just like you, Jason, in that field. And a lot of this book and so far the chapters, they've like just hit me with things that were like reassurance for me. Because I'm learning this stuff not in just one book now. We're learning it in multitudes of books. So it's like it's repeated, but it's repeated in a different way so that you can see it in a greater depth. Um, so I wrote down here, I said the successful person has a habit of doing things that failures don't like to do as well. And I realized that it's kind of like looking in the opposite field of life and how you perceive things that's really going to take you to the next level. Small discipline repeated with consistency every day leads to great achievements gained slowly over time. That also was a big reassurance for me because I've seen success in my life in different fields and I analyzed and I took time to think. And I realized that a lot of the things that are successfully working for me are things that I've stayed consistent with constantly. So I'm just realizing like a lot of stuff that consistency builds and also giving up is a habit as well. And it's like you forget these things time to time because you pick up and you go. Like I'm a pick up and go type of person. I like to just keep going and going and going. So that moment of reflection that was also stated, like if you're in the wrong direction, all a person needs to do is stop instead of, keeping up and keep going in the direction and trying to figure out things. Like sometimes I just need to stop and think and analyze. I remember talking to Marcos and Mikkel about my direction and how I'm doing things and how to like analyze myself and figure out if I'm taking on too much at once. And all I really needed to do was just sit down, write down, prioritize, and get some clear direction. So I was kind of like flabbergasted because all the things that I thought was so difficult, it was just laid out in front of me. And then once I like lined it up, it was so much easier because there's order in taking time and thinking. There's order that comes from that, and that's very important for self-development. So I would definitely say that yeah, this book it showed me too like the different types of people. Like when you get out there and you're working with people and you're trying to motivate and you're trying to bring like the same vibes you have as a person and you're also trying to help people understand your like path. It's also important to understand people grow, learn, do things differently as well. And I had trouble doing that. Like I had trouble understanding that because I honestly put myself through a rough ringer with learning and I was harsh on myself, didn't talk to myself the best way all the time, like put myself through things that I didn't need to. But and I learned to not have self-pity at a really early stage of my life too, to help grow. But then there's also some things that if you're not aware of and you don't think about, it can like affect you down the line. So like that kind of like when you said fight or fight, Jason, I felt that and I felt that in a way where it's like if someone's not doing this when I need them to do this, then I need them to do this, or I just can't rock with you, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. Like on hot and cold energy, like for me, that's where it would relate to me. And yeah, that's really it. If I was to popcorn to someone, who wants it? Who wants it? I want to give it up to Sam.
Yo, what's up? Appreciate you calling on me, Justin, and thank you for those takes that y'all had. Man, last week I called this book a mirror, and then come to find out chapter three is literally a mirror. So it was amazing to see him set the foundation as self-worth. I mean, what stuck out to me was you must see the value in yourself to add value to others. He said, if your value is at a 10, but if your self confidence is at a 3, the value you are giving to others will be a 3. And you also talked about just, self talk, combating negative self talk. When he said, walk by a mirror and hype yourself up. It's funny because I thought of Amber in this moment because she's really great at doing this, really great at that positive self-talk, that positive reinforcement, always constantly. And I thought about it, whether you gas yourself up in the mirror or not, the inaction of not telling something positive to yourself it's subconsciously negative. So if you walk past the mirror, tell yourself you look good. Tell yourself it's going to be a great day. That it's a great day to have a great day, and reinforce that positive energy in yourself. And he also brought about, comparisons, of course. I mean, you could take a look at every single one of these people on the call and keep showing up to this book club, so you're able just to stay mindful of every single person on their journey. You can see everyone is at a different point of their journey, but we are still here in this moment as a collective. So compare yourself to others. um well, don't compare yourself to others, but be mindful that you are where you need to be, and we are going in the direction that we need to go in. And when he said, take responsibility for your own self-image. Sorry, if it looks like I've been balling, I got allergies, then I'm sorry. My contacts are going crazy. Um, but then even personally, I'll be like really transparent with you. In past like relationships, I've had people tell me like I'm not happy. I don't like who I am. And I looked at them, I heard them, I accepted them, and I said, your happiness is your responsibility. Your self image is your responsibility. And that was a hard truth to accept. They didn't want to accept it. But to come read this here, literally, John C. Maxwell is telling us that you are responsible for your own self image. Growth begins when you take ownership of your development. Like Justin said, and Jason, you can't save somebody that won't be a part of their own rescue. If they are not taking the steps, then they're not going to grow. As simple as that. And it's a lot of accepting to do. This in my personal life with that. Um, and then going into chapter 4, I mean, he goes into the law of reflection, and it really made me stop when it said learning to pause allows growth to catch up with you. And that really hit me like a ton of bricks, because I'm running, 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 feeding my mind, listening to online mentors like Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Eric Thomas, everybody. And then, but if you don't take the time to reflect over the words that you just heard, you're gonna get into this knowledge gap and just feed information. And what Justin or Jason said in the very beginning of he said, I encourage every single one of you to apply this book to your life. Apply the knowledge you're reading, reflect, take the intentional time. I believe it was John C. Maxwell or Robert Kiyosaki. He said, for every 2 hours of reading, take 1 hour of reflection. Every 2 hours of growth, have 1 hour of preparation. That's how you get to like work in those 16-hour days. So if you have a call, you're preparing for at least an hour. And so, yeah, and it says structured reflection. Actually, take time, daily or weekly, to just sit over what we've learned about. After that value session, really take time to take those words to heart. Hear those wise words that last week was Wale, fire value session. But it's not just about hearing those words, it's about the intentional effort behind that, to really taking what he's saying, apply it. How can I apply it to my life? And how can I move accordingly with alignment to what we are doing here? And to tie it back into chapter 5, which is the most, where I'm at right now, I'm learning the law of consistency. Because motivation, yes, motivation at 3 in the morning can get you hyped up. But when you wake up at 7 a.m. and you don't want to get up, what's going to get you up? It's the habits that you're continuously building upon, and that discipline that's going to get you over the edge. So motivation gets you going, but discipline gets you going. I mean, or gets you growing rather. And all that is just establishing a good morning routine, a good night routine, sticking to it, having the discipline to do what it is that you don't want to do. Guys, I do not want to read, but I force myself to read. I do not want to go on a run with my dog, but I look at her and I'm like, we got to go. There's no reason not to. The only reason is my head telling me I don't want to do it. So it's being selfish with your time in a way that you've never been before. I've been selfish in my fleshly desires with my time and like giving my time to video games or TV shows, movies, whatever I'm giving my time to. But now I'm being intentional and giving the time to my future self. So my future self can thank myself for something I did today in the future. So I would just leave you with some questions for just reflection, right? So what daily habits are you doing to support your personal growth? And how do you maintain discipline when motivation is not there? So that's really what I had. Beautiful, beautiful chapters. I'm sorry I look like I'm crying on this book club. I'm so emotional. Let me see who's on as I throw it to you. I see you, Amber. Shout out if you can go.
Already know. Give me 1 second. What's up? Can y'all hear me? Okay, great. Fire takes. Everyone has just been on freaking fire, just coming with it. I really, really love this book. I'm really grateful for, book club and TGF for allowing us, like to have this space and structuring this space for us to go through this book, because it's really, really good. Like, it's really good reminders. And so let's just start off with chapter 3, the law of the mirror. I really, really love this because it's so true. Like, the way that we're able to give value to other people is to be able to see the value in ourselves. Like, if we can't see the value in who we are, we're not going to be able to help anybody else at all. And so our foundation for being leaders, for helping anybody else, for being of value to the world really starts with ourselves, and be able to look at ourselves in the way that we talk about ourselves. And like Sam mentioned, I do practice speaking very, very well of myself, because self-worth was not something that I had growing up at all. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't have examples of women or of people really who knew that at all. And so growing up, I dealt with the consequences of really not knowing who I was. And it's painful. It's really, really painful when you don't believe in yourself, when you don't love yourself, when you can't see the value of who you are just because of who you are. It is painful. It is like, it sucks. And so when you do the work to remind yourself of that, and to really like look at yourself like that, like when you don't compare yourself to others anymore, when you allow yourself to move beyond your beliefs, like you really like move beyond your limiting beliefs, you're really able to really just be and understand that like who you are, your presence is valuable no matter what, and actually give real value to people. Like, I remember when I first started getting on TGF's calls, and I first started this book club, my self-worth was not very well back then. And I just remember like getting stressed out thinking about getting on a call or something, because I wanted to speak. I wanted, like, I always had this desire like to lead and to help other people. But I didn't know the value of like my power. And so I would get on here stressed because I just felt like I had to like say something profound, or I had to say something valuable, or I had to I had to do anything. And it was not a good feeling. And so I don't know if anyone feels like that, but you don't. Like, literally any reflection, anything that we say, anything that we do is valuable, because we are enough just as we are. And so this law, I really, really like. And I like what Sam said earlier, like our happiness is our own responsibility. It is, at the end of the day, like we have these calls, we have leaders, we have mentors, we have coaches, we have friends, we have other people in our lives, but it is not anybody else's job to make us feel better about anything. At the end of the day, we have to be able to tune in and get real with ourselves and do the work to change our beliefs about ourselves, and really like ingrain who we really, really are into ourselves. And it's a practice. It takes literally every single day. And I really believe in that. Like, I really believe in the power of your words, and like literally like how every single thing that you say comes out of your mouth creates something, like no matter what. And so when it comes to like the practice of like saying positive affirmations and really talking well about myself, like I really just make it a game. Like I really just do it as much as I possibly can. I don't know, I'll be funny about it, but it just like, because the thing is like no matter what, eventually, if you say something enough times, you're going to believe it. Like it's going to plant something good or bad, no matter what, like no matter what you say about yourself, it is going to press upon like a belief in your mind. And so I like to be like really, 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 really thorough with it. I do not like to engage in a lot of like negative conversation or yeah, just that. Okay, so that was the law of the mirror. You must see value in yourself to add value to other people. And then chapter 4, the law of reflection. I really, really love this. Me and Roshizi are actually working on something in this law, this chapter really just hit the nail on the head. So one of the notes that I wrote down is true growth requires more than action. It needs intention and reflection. Taking time to pause, process, and gain insight from experiences is what transforms knowledge into wisdom. He said something in the chapter, what was it? It was about like when you pray, you're speaking to God, and when you meditate, you're allowing like yourself to listen, allowing yourself to like reflect and actually hear back. And I really, really, really believe that. And that's something like being able to pause and reflect, like it has to be intentional, like it talked about in the chapter, because we're going. We're creating, we're experiencing, we're out here, and it's easy not to want to sit down and not to want to reflect like at all, because it's uncomfortable. Like you really have to sit with your emotions. You have to sit with what it is that you have going on. And if you don't have self-worth, it can be really daunting to want to sit there and sit with yourself, And so when we build upon these principles and upon these laws, and you're able to sit down and allow yourself to really reflect and do it on a consistent basis, like it's like Sam said, your growth is able to catch up with you. And I know all of us, like we're all entrepreneurs, we have a lot to learn, and we're learning a lot. We're literally listening to positive information every single day, right? Or like we should be. That's definitely a practice that is foundational, right? Consistently listening to positive affirmation, consistently listening to audiobooks, to podcasts, to new information for us to learn. If we don't pause and actually stop and allow that to like seep in, then it just becomes information. It's just words that we heard. And yes, it seeps into our subconscious mind. It does do something, but actually pausing and listening to what to do with this information. Like at the end of the day, every single one of us has different purposes, and our purposes change over time, over our lifetime. And so we have to be able to listen. Like we all have mentors, we all have leaders, and some of us are mentors and leaders. And at the end of the day, all they're going to do is be able to guide us back to that truth. But in that reflection time is when we're able to hear from source, which is like exactly what you're supposed to do. Like source will tell you exactly your next best step, but you'll never get that if we don't pause and reflect, right? And make it a daily practice. I like calling it tuning in and just pausing and just being. And I think it can be difficult to reflect because of how much you just don't need to do. Like just be, like literally just allow yourself just to think no thing and like no thought. And like sometimes it's hard because we have all these thoughts like racing in our mind, right? And if we have like ADHD or if we have like something going on, it's easy to just think about that thing. And, sometimes it's hard to even understand what it means to not think, but really what it is, it's a mental practice. And so like a couple years ago, I used to practice this. Like this is what I learned. It was like before being able to, like before trying not to think about anything, just focus your mind on being able to think of one specific thing for as long as you can. And so this is like crazy random training that I did for myself. But like when I heard that, I was like, okay, so I'm gonna sit here. And I thought about something randomly in that moment. I don't know why, but I was like, I'm just gonna like just kind of train myself to think about this one thing for as long as I can, like 30 seconds, a minute, like 5 minutes. And it was a penguin. It was a penguin. And I had just, I don't know, it was like randomly in front of me. So I was just like looking at it, and I was just like allowing myself just to think about that only thing, like just the penguin, like what it looked like, this and that. And so I could feel like my thoughts drift. And once I would catch them drift, I would bring them back like to the penguin. And that exercise actually ended up helping me like a lot, because I remember years later, I was going through it. Like I was going through a heartbreak, and I was out, and I was out, like I was out eating with somebody, like I was in public, and I remember I had got hit with like a wave of emotions, like something had happened where I was like, oh my gosh, like my emotions were really, 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 really high. And I just remember like pausing. I was like standing in front of the bar, and I feel like this goes into this like emotional intelligence, but I knew in that moment, like I needed to gather myself, like gather my emotions. And I was like, my thoughts were all over the place. My emotions were about to be all over the place. And I was like, I'm going to stop, pause, and like just focus. And so I remember I like looked forward, and I looked at a bottle that was like in front of me, and I just like focused my mind on that. And just like as I was focusing my mind on that, I was just like breathing, and I allowed myself like to calm down, and I was able like to process. But being able to do that helps you, because then you could like eventually think about like nothing. Like you can just focus on like literally looking at the birds, or like looking at the trees, and just in that time, basically what that does is it puts your guards down. It stops you from thinking an active thought, like a thought that you are coming up with your own mind and what you got going on. It allows you to receive a thought, right? Receive a thought from divine, Holy Spirit, from whatever it is that you want to call it. So law of reflection. And then chapter 5, I only got to read about half of it. But one thing that I wrote down was motivation is what sparks desire to grow, but discipline is what keeps that growth growing. And there was something that someone said earlier, or maybe it was in the book. In the beginning, it was like, I don't know. I feel like he said something about like coaching people, or like telling someone something one time and feeling like it was enough, or not feeling like it was enough. I don't know. Lost it. But I didn't really get a lot into this chapter, so I'll let everyone else talk about it. But obviously, consistency is important, so I'm excited to finish listening to this chapter. Okay. Next, I'm calling on Roshizi. And if not Roshizi, then Javante. And if not Javante, then Marcus.
I think Javante, are you new to the squad?
Oh yeah. This is actually my first meeting with you guys.
Let's go. Let's go. Welcome, man.
But I have like a little
What's
something
going
I can
on,
share
bro?
if
It's
you
good to
guys
see you
want.
here.
Perfect.
Based off
Perfect,
like
bro. Perfect, brother.
what's
Yeah, you
good.
got the floor, man.
That so I was just like listening to, the last three people that were speaking, and a lot of it resonated like with me, like from the guy talking about his childhood. Um and it's like one thing that came to like my mind. Ramon said, and he said, if you take care of you for me, I'll take care of me for you. It's just like I love that point. Really just taking that in journey, and really seeking the knowledge and wisdom it takes to, get to where it is, wherever you're going in your life with your goals, and I loved it, and that's all I wanted to share.
Hey, appreciate the vibes, bro. Glad you here. Glad you made it to the call.
Thanks for the
For real,
invite.
for real.
Yeah. And yeah, man, the call's open every week. So I know you're about to join squad, but we'll keep you in the loop of things so that you can stay in tune and continue growing with us as we dive into the book. Seems like Roshizi
Appreciate it.
is ready. Go on ahead, girl. Go on ahead.
Okay, so I didn't hear anybody share, just to be honest with you. So thank you for sharing, and I'll listen to the recording to get everybody's insight. And I'm just gonna talk about the chapters that I've read and what stuck out to me, because I did not get through all of it, and I didn't hear what you guys talked about, so some of it might be repeat material. So chapter 3, the law of the mirror. I really like this chapter. The first quote that he opened with, personal development is the belief that you are worth the effort, time, and energy needed to develop yourself. I like that because I heard a little bit about what Amber was talking about. Like believing in ourselves is really important. Believing that we're worth the effort, time, and energy is really important. Um, and like this chapter resonated with me a lot because I've you know, wrestled with self-worth like my whole life. And just recently I was reflecting about how I still to this day like struggle with self-worth, especially in the area of romantic relationships, feeling like I'm worthy of something that's healthy and fruitful and like, good for me. That's what I was sharing in the context of. But just like worthy in general, the whole thing talks about well, he said, why do many people fail to grow and reach their potential? Because one of the main reasons is low self-esteem, and that comes from our childhood and the conditioning that we received as children, those ingrained beliefs that we get told by people in the outside world, our parents or caretakers, and all that, situations that happen to us, trauma, like all of that, and we carry it throughout our life. But I like the part where he was like, the older that you get, the more responsible. I don't know where he said it, but it was like the older that you get, the like more responsibility you have to like change that in your life. Um, and so because like, some people might just constantly like refer back to like the trauma that they experienced and like use that as an excuse to why they are the way they are in whatever way they are. And it's like you can only use that excuse for so long, like you eventually have to like do something different and like heal yourself. And so the story about Janetta McSwain, I really like that story too because it just like there are a lot of stories about people who like started at the bottom and like chose to do something different and work their way out of their lifestyle to something way better. And if somebody like that can do it, then anybody can do it. And it's not a matter of like, I seen this thing, it was like a visualization of like equality versus equity, and like equality is like everybody's on the same level. And but then you look behind the thing that they're standing on, and everybody has a different level that they're standing on, and that's equity. Like, so I don't really know what that has to do with this, but it's in the way that like we like certain people are born more privileged and like have a better start, if you will. But like that doesn't mean that they don't still experience problems. And like even people who don't get, people who are dealt like a poor hand, like how I have often felt, like it doesn't matter how you started. Like it starts within self and the belief in self in order to get where you want to go. I like the part where he talked about she maintained the vision she had for her future. At the beginning of every semester, she went to the bookstore on campus and tried on a cap and gown, looking at herself in the mirror and imagining what it would be like to graduate. Like that, becoming, embodying like the person that she wanted to be. We talk about that all the time here and in Powerful Creator. And so this TV is loud as fuck. Hold on. I'm sorry. It is not Elmo's World today, dude. Okay. So the other part that I really like from this chapter too, it's impossible to consistently behave in a manner inconsistent with how we see ourselves. So like going back to what I was talking about earlier and like how I have struggled with my own feelings of like lack of self-worth. Like if I believe that I am not worth anything, then like it's not possible for me to act like I'm worth anything, you know? And so um I don't know. Like I know that that's not the truth about me, and it takes work. Like it takes me affirming myself, and it takes me taking care of myself, and it takes me like he gets into the next chapter about reflection, like reflecting, like to really like see my value and like believe in that. And like honestly, it's like for me it goes back and forth. Like I, you know, some days are really good, like I believe in myself, I love myself, like I'm the baddest bitch on the earth. And like some days it's the complete opposite of that, and it just is what it is. Like there's no, I don't think there's like any arriving point where it's like one day I'm going to believe in myself and my worth, and like I'm never going to go back to unbelieving in myself, because that's just like human nature and emotions, they come and they go. You know, things happen, we respond and react to things, and it, you know, it changes how we feel. But then as long as I can continue to come back to the truth, I think that's what's most important. So he said people are never able to outperform their self-image. That was also powerful. If you lack basic self-trust, self-respect, and self-confidence, your self-esteem deficiency will limit you no matter what other assets you possess. So like bottom line is it's important to believe in yourself. And like I can confidently say like I do have self-trust, I do have self-respect, I do have self-confidence. So, you know, I do have some self-esteem, and like I'm really proud of that, because I wouldn't have been able to say that probably a few months ago. So let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Oh, also, when he talked about the value we place on ourselves is usually the value others place on us. Like that was really good too, because a lot of people do equate their self-worth with things like outside of them, like what other people say or what things they have or don't have. And like that is not um I mean you can do that, like that's a way to place value on yourself, but like I don't want to use that as the way to place value on myself, because there are people who don't like me, there are people who don't respect me, there are things that like I don't have, that if I believed it could make me feel like I'm not worthy, you know. There are things that I do have that can make me feel like I'm over, you know. So like it's about the work in my own self-esteem. It comes from me. It just like it all, you know, your self-esteem is going to come from you, it's not going to come from the things outside of you. And if it does, like that, you know, if like I'm seeking outside validation and like using that to like solidify the value I have on myself, then what happens when that I'm no longer getting that validation, or that switches, you know, that person doesn't like me anymore, or that job doesn't work out, you know, like then my value is going to like plummet. So that part. He goes through the steps of building self-image. I liked how he went through the identify a limiting belief that you want to change, determine how the belief limits you, decide how you want to be, act, or feel, create a turnaround statement that affirms or gives you permission to be, act, or feel this new way. I feel like me and Amber have literally done this together. So it's like cool to read in these books that we read, like things that we've already been talking about, things that I'm already familiar with, because it's just like more affirmation of like we're on the right path, we're doing the right kind of work. um yeah, I talked about adding value to others. I love being of service. I do service work consistently throughout the week, on like 2 or 3 different days of the week at least, and it really do help me get outside of myself. And like people thank me for it, and I'd be like, it's light work. But it feels good to get that, you know, that, what's the word, I don't know, it feels good to it, he said it in the book, it feels, you feel good about yourself when other people feel good about you or whatever. So chapter 4, law of reflection. This is a good chapter too. The beginning part where some he said some kinds of growth, there are some kinds of growth that come to us only if we are willing to stop, pause, and allow the lesson to catch up with us. And he talked about like he used the what was it, Caesar, when he talked about Caesar and how Caesar said, I didn't highlight it so I don't know where it is, but it said experience is the best teacher, and the author was like experience is the best teacher when like reflected experience is the best teacher, because if you don't take the time to reflect on it, then you might like miss out on the lesson. Um, and then it's just an experience and you didn't learn from it, right? So like I love this chapter too because I take a lot of time to reflect. Like I spend um plenty of time in my car driving, which is like the perfect place for me to reflect. um sometimes I like to sit down and reflect and write things down. Or the other place that I'd be reflecting it is in my shower. That's where I meditate. But like when I'm driving, and I'll turn the music off or the audio, whatever I'm listening to, and just like be in silence, and like I just think about things. It can be dangerous because I can overthink about things. But the balance of being able to like take action and then reflect about it, like reevaluate, take action, like I feel like it's a give and take. It's a back and forth. Oh, here it goes. Experience is not the best teacher. Evaluated experience is. Um, so I didn't really get all the way through this chapter, but the other thing I want to highlight is that he said, he was talking about the speech that he gave and how he was able to give a better speech because he evaluated what he was going to talk about before he talked about it after the interpreter, I guess, gave him feedback. I don't know if it was feedback, but like after he informed him that like the people of this area don't have trust in authority figures or leadership, it made him think like, okay, how can I speak to these people in a way that's gonna like reach them? So I just liked how he said, every time I speak, I want to do two things: add value to the people I talk to and exceed the expectations of the person who invited me. And I just thought that was a good little nugget because like every time that I speak personally, like I don't want to just be talking. I want it to have like an impact. And um yeah, I resonated with that piece. So I think that's all I have to say. I was listening to the audio too. I listened to the four eyes, but it's different when you listen to it, it kind of goes in one ear, not the other. At least for me. So that's all I'm gonna say. Is there anybody else who hasn't gone? You can pick up the mic because I don't know who hasn't gone.
I haven't gone.
Gabriel, I pick you.
Cool.
What up,
Oh, I
y'all?
should have been coach. She said, I choose you.
So, transparency here, I didn't read these two chapters because I've been so busy doing shit. So, in that aspect, I just have the mindset of just keep doing stuff, no matter the outcome and mistakes. I know they said that in the last chapter, and it just stuck with me ever since. And I feel and believe that the more you put in the reps on something, the more often you're going to get the outcome and outlook. So, in that sense, that is all I have. I haven't read, but I have been doing stuff that's been intentional to personally growing myself. So yes, that's it.
I'm gonna take it. Sorry, Marcus. You can go last. You definitely can close this out, B. But what up, though? What's good, y'all? What's good? If you find yourself in Lakeville, Roshizi, pull up on us. I am holding a spot for my cousin's birthday thing today. Spider-Man at the park. We definitely outside. But in that, we're at Antlers Park. I'll text you. I got you. In that, yeah, these three chapters day that I've had. I apologize for missing the front half of this call. I definitely have had a whole thing, got rocked, was literally in tears hopping on this thing. And I appreciate y'all for just being who you guys are and literally helping me kind of get back to my core. Ultimately, as Roshizi just spoke about, the first story in this chapter, Shorty McQueen, McStain, McSwain, I don't remember her last name, but Shorty and the beginning of her life literally reminded me of myself. I damn near was tearing up reading her story because ultimately, literally, like if y'all were on that value session I did about a month and a half ago where I talked about the day that I moved out, like the reason that I moved out is because I had come to a realization. I used to do this thing. I've always been a self-reflecting type of person. And so if you guys have been around for a while, you guys have heard the value session where I talked about having an eagle eye perspective. And that's like my art of reflection. And I do that every day of my life. I've been doing this since I was about 8 years old. Just every day I'll take out some intentional time, whether it's in my garage on my little session to itself, or whatever the case may be. I take some time to just literally think about all the things that happen in my day. And so, in that, what I was doing as I was younger, as I would literally just think about where I was headed and how all the decisions that were happening in my life, whether it was me or my parents, how they were affecting exactly where I was heading. And I was thinking forward as well as I was thinking backwards. And I came to the realization one day, like, yo, I can't stay in this environment because I want to be somebody. And if I continue to stay here, eventually I'm going to start to believe y'all when you tell me continuously that I ain't never going to be shit. Eventually I'm just start to believe you guys when y'all tell me that I'm just like my father and how he used to be. Honestly, he's not that man today, but how he used to be. Like, literally, I would start to believe that I deserved all of the abuse that I was getting. And I was like, before I get to the point where I'm starting to believe all of this, I have to move. And I have to move around. And I don't know where I'm about to go. I don't know what I'm about to do, but I'm about to get my ass out of here. And so I called my mother and was like, yo, I cannot become the person that I want to be being in this environment. And ultimately, y'all, like, that just goes to show you, I've been the same person since I mean, obviously a lot of growth, but the same moral values, pillars have ran Mikhail my entire life. Like, I know for a fact if I'm not in the right environment, I'm not going to go to the levels that I actually want to go to, period. And you don't understand that you're not in the right environment unless you take out some time to actually think about what the hell you're doing. And that's why I loved what he was talking about, because ultimately it literally comes down to having a life of reflection. I had the same moment when I was 30, like, yo, what are we doing right now? And where do I actually want to go with the second half of my life, considering what we've done with the first half of my life? And as a lot of us were literally in a season of transition back in January when I turned 30, like, those were big decisions that were getting made for me. This is why I was like, hey, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know how I want to go forward. And it just took some real live time to sit my ass down and reflect. And so that first chapter was huge for me because ultimately that's exactly what I've had to do my entire life. It's exactly what we've all had to do our entire life. And if you do it unintentionally, you end up in places where you're really grateful and thankful to be there. But if you do it intentionally, it's a whole nother level of life that you can truly go and live, because ultimately it's like you will literally build your self-esteem, as he talked about in here. Shorty's name was Janetta, but in that, he literally talked about the power of self-esteem, and he talked about it being the single most significant key to a person's behavior. And it's the truth. How you literally feel about yourself will determine how you act every day. It'll determine the decisions that you make. It'll determine how you make those decisions and everything. So that was huge, because ultimately, like, in all of our journeys, there's a level of belief that can be gained. There's this book called Crazy Faith that literally just walks you through the art of building that faith in life, building that faith in God, building that faith in yourself, knowing who you are and whose you are, and building that. So, highly recommend, if you are in that space of like, I don't know why I feel like I have low self esteem and I don't know how to build that, I highly recommend reading that book. It'll make you do some real live reflection on your own life and exactly where you're at. That will help you hit new levels, just like this one is. But what's lit is when you leave that environment, like I left my environment, you get a brand new chance to be anyone that you want to be. So I'm really grateful for that decision, truly, that I made 14 years or however long ago it was when I was 17, 13 years ago. I don't even know, a long time ago, a decade and some change. When we made that decision, it changed everything. And I got a chance to literally start over from being a high school dropout, from being a person who didn't have anything going on. I got an opportunity to literally start over. I had another reflection moment when I started in entrepreneurship and was like, I'm not going to be working like this for the rest of my life. I'm going to be somebody. My self esteem was raising. I changed my environment. We got to start over and become a new person and go work like it too. And so, in that, I always say, y'all, do not be afraid that every day that you wake up is a new chance to reset, refocus, and restart. But I do like one quote that was also at the end of this book. Real quick, let me find it because I screenshotted that day. He said, you got to, this was George Lormier, you've got to get up every morning with determination if you're going to go to bed with satisfaction. And that was real life. Like, if you've been feeling like you've gone to bed a little low self-esteem and a little bit depressed, like, yo, think about how you're waking up and what exactly you're doing. Like, I love the fact that we do a big ass event each year called Unlimited. And at that event, we literally write out these affirmation statements together. We literally take out time to write down our goals together. We take out time to actually think about who we want to be and exactly what happened last year. If y'all haven't realized yet, as Rashizi just pointed out, everything that we do here in this ecosystem is intentional. Everything that we are doing here is literally the process of building up a new person, building up a new identity for those of you that choose to actually join in on this process of being restored. But that's the part you've got to choose to begin to join in on this process. Every week I get on here and I shout each and every person for showing up. Like, shout out y'all for literally being on this thing every Saturday, because there's a lot of people that don't realize that they're not taking their personal growth serious. There's a lot of people that don't realize that they're half-assing it on their personal growth, and that's why their results are half-assed too. And it's because they've literally got to show up for themselves to build those small promises to themselves, build that level of confidence in self, as well as go hit the next level. And until you build that self-esteem and you get to the point that we're all at as we're reading this book and as we're discussing it, you can't go operate at your highest level, period. Like, yes, we can all operate out of getting pissed off about our results, but only for so long. And then you have to get remotivated or re-inspired. And so in that, if you can literally just figure out a plan, set that plan down on paper, actively look at it each and every single day and say it to yourself in the mirror, I'm so grateful and happy now that your goal, your personality trait, your character that you are trying to build as well. If you can go and do these things and show up in the little moments and actually personally develop yourself each and every single day, I promise you, life will look completely different 365 days from now. Regardless if you're choosing to trade, regardless if you're choosing to build a business or not, life will look completely different 365 days from now if you literally just start to develop yourself, because you'll make different decisions to put yourself in different situations. So in that, you want something different, you have to do something different. In order to do something different, you literally have to think different. In order to think different, you've got to get around thinking that's different, as well as you've got to plug in to systems that allow you to work that muscle. Because as humans, we will naturally do the survival tactic. As humans, we naturally want to keep ourselves safe. We naturally want to keep ourselves comfortable. So doing things that make you uncomfortable will allow you to get in your feelings. And if you literally operate in your feelings, you will not feel like it one day. And the day you don't feel like it, you will start all the way over. Period. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. Like, you miss a beat, you starting over from the last checkpoint. I'm saying that's really what it is. You're starting over from your last checkpoint, and then you got to re-go through that whole system of growth. Why? Because you just dropped a promise to yourself after you set a goal and you set a plan. And as soon as you drop that promise, now all of a sudden you're starting to lose confidence instead of build it. And I believe, like, these 3 chapters were honestly, you could read these forwards or backwards. That's what's honestly super dope. Because listen to the actual names of the chapters real quick, y'all. I just wanted to break this down for everybody because I honestly thought it was worth the explanation. But literally, the chapters are the law of the mirror. You must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. The law of reflection. So the art of literally getting to the point of seeing that value in yourself to go and add to yourself. And then from there, the law of consistency, literally the stuff that keeps you going. Consistency is the engine of success. Period. I absolutely love some of the quotes that were in this book because I was like, yo, like, this is gold. You've got to know who, what, when, where, why, how you are going to actually grow and write this down on paper if you're going to actually take it serious and go through this process. And so truly, it just reaffirmed everything that we do here inside of this entire ecosystem. All of us coaches on here leading people, as well as all of us people who are being led. It's literally just means we're doing the right things to actually help our people intentionally grow. The magic is found in showing up. Period. So truly grateful for these chapters. If y'all can, please send some prayers my way. My family is being wrecked by, honestly, just a lot of stuff right now. It's a lot going on. So if y'all some praying people, which I know majority of y'all are, if not all of y'all are, please just say a prayer for peace on my side. It's a lot going on. I got some parents literally about to be divorced as of this morning. I just found out, like, there's so much going on. It's honestly crazy. But in the midst of these uncomfortable seasons, when you choose growth, is truly where the biggest growth happens. So we here. I appreciate y'all being here with me. Imani, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it to you or Marcus. I think Imani's gonna go first, go, bro. She said she's ready. So go ahead, take this.
Good morning, everyone. I am definitely going to be praying for you, Mikkel. Okay, you and your whole family. Speak nothing but peace on your life, on your family, and good luck with your parents. I know it's not easy being an adult, with divorced parents. So sending you a lot of love. Um, this, okay, let me just, and so I know a few of you had already kind of brought it up, like Ro, you're bringing up the quote from Julius Caesar. That was definitely in my notes too, because just I like how John flipped it. And experience is so impactful, but when you think about it on a deeper level, not just surface, like just the quote itself, the values that you learn from these experiences are so powerful. And in between that, I'm probably going to be jumping around a little bit, but in between that, take time to pause before moving to the next task. He also says, like, we're so busy, like, as people, especially in America, we quickly go from task to task to task and trying to get things done. But, like, where is the pause in between that to really, like, go through? And I cannot remember who I got it from or where I got this from, but they were saying to, like, when you have an experience or when something happens to you and it's a impactful moment, take time. Don't just hop on the next call and be like, yo, let me tell you what happened. Don't just, like, turn on the TV or go do something else with your mind. But he really brings this to light in the book, just to sit and, like, reflect and evaluate on what just happened. And Mikkel, the you talking about you moving is crazy. I mean, it's not crazy, but I literally went through the same thing when I moved from LA. So when I moved here, I was a completely different person. And I still have a lot of the same values and beliefs. And I've let go of a lot of really negative self-talk, self-belief, self-worth issues. And I'm still working on that to this day. But when I moved, it was a completely different ball game. Like, when I moved here, I remember my ex was with me for a little bit, just a little bit before she went back. And that was that. I didn't have much time to reflect. But once she left, I basically didn't make friends for the whole first year of being in Austin. So I had a lot of time to sit and reflect on the whole season that I was in when I was still living in LA. And when I look back on that now, because I've already evaluated, I've already let that person, she dead as fuck. Sorry, she's very much gone. But, like, now that I've taken that time to be this new person who I am, I'm still learning. Like, I have to continuously, like, that growth comes from these experiences, and it is the value that I learned that helps me to continue, like, push forward. It creates powerful growth. So if I was still in LA, I don't know what I would be doing. I really don't. Honestly, y'all, I can't even describe to you some of the things that I've seen. And it sucks, when I have to, like, when I'm casually talking about situations and then realizing, like, oh shit, it was so toxic, I didn't know. Um, yeah, very powerful stuff. Okay, so I'm going back to chapter 6 about the positive things. He said we can do what did he say? If we do very little positive things, or if we have negative views of ourselves, something like that. But how you see yourself is how you perform. If you feel like you're a 5, then you're going to perform at a 5. If you feel like you're a 10, you're going to perform at a 10. So it's all about this self-belief. And people are never able to outperform their self-image. Like, self-esteem was such a critical part of this chapter 3. If you feel inadequate to face challenges, unworthy of love and respect, not entitled to happiness, your self-esteem will limit you. And I'm like, oh my God, damn. Like, so I really started to go deeper into myself, like, especially when you started giving all the prompts, like in certain areas where I lack, where I feel inadequate, and why certain things feel so overwhelming. And I'm like, wow, so it's like a self image. So work for me has been crazy. It's been very busy. And I managed an apartment building. And like, when I got this position, it's my second position as a property manager. Like, I didn't, this second go around, I had taken time off. I reflected on like the past situations, why I wanted to leave, why I came back for the money. And now I have so much opportunity for growth. I've already grown so much, and I've broken through this, how do you say, like, I've broken through, I guess, this layer of myself that I'm on the other side. And it does get very overwhelming for me. Sometimes I procrastinate. And like, I think it was either chapter 3 or chapter 6. He's talking about that. Like, if you're procrastinating, he said, if you say yes to a list of these answers, then, it's possible that your why isn't big enough for you to, push through. So I'm thinking, like, to myself, do I feel worthy of this position? And sometimes I do, but I have to be honest with myself. Sometimes I don't. It's a lot, and it can be very overwhelming. So, what can I do? Because I know this is going to help me like continue forward and grow. What can I do to, you know, push past those negative beliefs, throw them away, get them out of here, right? And so he was like, just say like nice stuff to yourself, build yourself up, do things for people in service of people. And I appreciated that, because it's like, okay, things don't have to be so serious. They don't have to be so, I guess, lack of better words, drab. Like, it doesn't have to be this sad thing. So, today I watched my friend's kid for her for a little bit, and we played and we had a good time. Then I was just cleaning my house, and I was like dancing and singing, like, okay, yes, girl, you did it. You did it. It's been dirty, but it's clean. So it's like, I feel that excitement, and that just like, even doing that made me feel a lot better. It's like, okay, I may feel like I'm inadequate in certain places sometimes, but guess what? Like, I can continue to build myself up. And for all the people, like, I don't know if it's anybody on this call or anybody in general, like on the recording, but like, if y'all ever just felt like your corner, your circle is not for you, and they are not, like, they don't believe in you, sending you love, sending you belief. And I'm proud of you, because sometimes, like, I feel that if it wasn't for my family, if it wasn't for some of my friends who are like really pumping me up and making me feel like I'm everything in this world, would I necessarily have as much confidence in the areas that I do? I don't know. I don't think so. Because I had a lot of love, even in the harder times where like I felt like a lot of people didn't believe in me, but I still had so many people to do that. So it's like, shout out to y'all, because it's hard to start from the bottom. Like Ro was talking about that, when you start from the bottom and you have to build yourself up on your own, it takes time, but it's so possible. So possible. I did not believe that I could get back out there in the dating game until I did. Nah, I just threw myself out there. Is it still uncomfortable? Yes. Am I still growing with it? Yes. But whatever. I got my boundaries. I got my standards. Shout out to Marcus. And I continue to grow. Like, I know what I want. It's fine. Like, it'll work itself out as long as I continuously have that mentality. Guard your self-talk. Facts. Negative self-talk comes from our childhood. Super facts, bro. Yeah, super facts. And let's see, pausing. Okay, so I believe this was chapter 7, when they were talking about solitude, and solitude is so, maybe chapter 6, I don't know. But solitude is so beautiful. I don't know if a lot of people have issues with being in silence. Sometimes I do. Like I can't. I realized that recently since I've been so busy at work and I've been building myself up and building my businesses up and like doing all of these things, I realized like, oh my gosh, I just hop from one task to the next without like really sitting with myself, being in solitude. I'm always somewhere. What am I avoiding? What do I need to face head on? Um, and there's this really beautiful song called Solitude by mm, 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 he gonna have to come out. Okay, sorry y'all. I'll get to that in a bit. Anyways, so it's a song called Solitude by Billie Holiday, and it's like it describes exactly what it is, like being in solitude and being happy and comfortable in that. Um, so like I think this is chapter 7 for this one. Motivation is like nothing without discipline. Motivation plus discipline equals consistency. Thank you, John C. Maxwell. I freaking needed to hear that because last year I worked so hard on discipline, and now this year I realized, oh, I want to work on consistency.
Specific.
Shut up, no. Okay, yes. So, like, putting that all together, is my why strong enough to motivate me to create that discipline? Well, to have that discipline to create the consistency? Yes, actually. So that's why I got up and cleaned today. I'm like, you know what? I'm not dirty girl. I clean. I like cleaning. I like having a clean house. Let me just keep going. That motivation, that discipline will get me the consistency to hop back into other things that I have been lacking in because of just when that my life has been. An old professor of mine, I'm gonna leave with this because an old professor of mine, long time ago, she told me that taking small steps for me specifically was going to help me finish college because I was like full-time student traveling back and forth from home to because I live far from my school. Then I moved to live far from home. It was a lot of things, so I always tried to do so much more than I needed to, and it was always causing me to procrastinate. So she told me to take little steps. Long story short, I didn't listen. That was my bad. She was right though. Anytime I've taken very small steps, I look back at the year and I'm like, wow, I did that. I did all of that. I'm really proud of myself for it. If I try to do all these things at once, I notice I get very overwhelmed. And that's when I start losing my freaking whole head. Like I can't do anything because I feel what's the word? Dilapidated? No, that's not it. Oh shoot. Okay.
Decapitated with no head?
Decapitated. Kinda. Like I feel so overwhelmed to where it is debilitating. Oh my God. It's debilitating. Like I feel like I can't do anything. And then I go into a pit and it's like a little cycle. That's something that I'm wanting to freaking break. Because I don't want to be in that energy no more. Like, so I continue to push forward and clean on the days where maybe I have that motivation and like pump myself up rather than running away. So those small steps are super important. I know some people can probably do all these things at one time, and you know what? That's just not me, and that's okay. Like I just gotta play on my strengths and be proud of myself in every step of the way, rather than worrying about what anybody else thinks. Hell, what I think, and like just grow, simply grow. So very grateful. John C. Maxwell, you've done it again. All right, go take it away, Marcus.
Freaking love you, girl. I love all y'all. And I appreciate the vibe and the energy. I'm gonna keep it short because I'm on a stairmaster. And what's crazy is, y'all have done a whole presentation on the stairmaster. This is very challenging. I was attempting to go a little earlier, but we don't get it done. So first and foremost, I did not read. I'm just kidding. Who would I
Bro, I
be?
was literally about to snap, nigga. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was about to snap. You were the
No,
one
no.
who
Who
would
would
have
I
got the
be?
snap on the call.
Who would I be though? Honestly though, because honestly, it's not even in me because I've been so consistent for so long. And that's what I want to touch on because everybody's really talked about the first couple of chapters, and I agree. I tell vocal artists what to do. Oh yeah, it's actually wild. I'd be surprised at the conversations I can have while I'm running. I've learned a lot in the season, and we're better for it. But anyways, when it comes to consistency, y'all, here's the biggest thing that I got taught early on in my network marketing career, and I was able to apply it to every part of my life. First and foremost, Mikhail, can you hear the background music, or am I good? Okay, boom. So yeah, it's very loud in here. But first and foremost, he says, and he quoted Vince Lombardi, once you learn to quit, it becomes a habit. I don't think people understand the significance of how habits are built, right? He goes, when you make the right choices, however small, and you do it consistently over time, you can make a huge difference in your life. And he was literally referencing to the book of the compound effect. And I tell people all the time, look, I'm getting chill and I'm getting some extra energy while I'm on this semester because the compound effect is real and it goes way beyond just your finances. And it can either be compounded positively or compounded negatively. And it's all dependent upon your choices and your decisions. Your choices and your decisions. The reason why I come on this book club, having read the chapters we got to read, regardless of how busy or how hectic my life is, or how tired I am, or how much I have on my plate, how many problems I have to solve for my own life, problems you got to solve for your business, problems you got to solve for other people, is because I've been reading for a long time. And I was just like Sam, I can't stand reading, y'all. I had to read throughout college, bro. I really could not stand it. And when Mikhail and I were like, bro, all of our old leaders would talk about these books, but they wouldn't read them. And we would see them hit ceiling after ceiling after ceiling at limiting belief. We're like, yo, we need to change that. So about 4 years ago, we started getting intentional and just reading and having conversations with ourselves. And they were like, bro, we would notice when people needed some help in certain areas. And we know that, as Jesus said, the prophet is not welcome in their homeland. So let's go and make sure that they get it from the source so that they can learn from somebody who's saying it in a way that they can pertain to them while they think. Right? In chapter 2, he talks about action. And I took a screenshot of this because I wanted to specifically talk about it. He quoted Earl Nightingale. He said, you cannot win if you do not begin. The people who get ahead in the world are the ones who work for the circumstances they want. And if they cannot find them, they make them. In The Strangest Secret, when I first heard those words, he talked about the strangest secret on the world is that you become what you think about. You become what you think about. It's a simple concept, right? Simple to grasp, a lot more difficult to implement in your life. But what I've heard, or what I've seen, what I understand, and what Earl Nightingale said in that audio is that the reason why it's a secret, even though it's not, is because most people don't think. They don't take the time to reflect. They don't take the time to process. And I was one of those people for a very long time. I too grew up a perfectionist. I was the one that would make sure everything was turned on time, and it wasn't turned in unless it was up to par. So much so that I almost kind of ruined my whole career as an entrepreneur because I expected perfection. The problem wasn't the perfection. I believe we should all strive and reach for that standard. But the real issue is the fact that you set an expectation that ultimately sets you up for failure. You can expect something, but if you operate with standards, there's always a bar that you're going after. You might fall short of the bar, but if you are progressing toward the bar that is set towards perfection, then you are bound to progress. Just like he talks about, right? Your competition and your comparison with others shouldn't be there. The only thing you should be comparing yourself to is yourself yesterday. Did you get better today? And if you haven't, why not? If you have, why? Right? I love how chapter 3 and 4 went together, right? Looking at the mirror and taking time to reflect. Because I'm so fast paced, and trust me, guys, as you hit new levels, you're only going to get busier. As you go and create the abundance in your life that you're after, you're only going to have more responsibilities. You're only going to be serving more individuals. So it's not going to calm down. You have to master your prioritization of scheduling blocks of time in your schedule to make sure you are filling your cup. Ain't no one going to do that for you. It don't matter if anybody understands. But in order for you to show up as your best self, you've got to understand what you're doing well and what you're not. I did an entire value session about a year and a half ago about the corrections that need to be made. Because you're bound to make a mistake. You're not perfect. But instead of just identifying that you made a mistake or it wasn't working in your favor, why not get detailed and specific on what caused the mistake? So that when you go after it again, you can make the necessary adjustments. Right? If I'm shooting free throws and I'm shooting 50 free throws to 100 free throws every single day, and I'm keeping track of my progress, I'm not just putting if I made or missed the basket. I'm identifying how did I miss the basket? Was I too short to hit the front of the rim? Did I put too much and did I hit the back of the rim? Did it hit the side of the rim off to the right? Did it hit the side of the rim off to the left? But if I don't take that intentional thought process and identify, correct, and reapply myself, odds are I'm not going to get better. I'm just identifying when I did well and when I didn't. And I really do think that's what separates the most successful people from the wannabes. And it's really just that intention behind how you're doing what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing, which is why he tells us to really dive deep into those questions. And I love to hear that all y'all took the time in the midst of your reading to not just read, but to analyze and think. Like, okay, that's his best quality. What is mine? Right? He said that he said the question you should ask yourself. I loved it too. Someone's calling. I'm gonna have to call them back. Hold on one second, y'all. Made me lose my freaking train of thought. And my saved bookmark. Okay, that. It said that this is I was like, Anthony Robbins, that's Tony Robbins. He quoted Tony Robbins and he said, successful people ask better questions, and as a result, they get better answers. And man, shout out McHale. So there's a reason why I still follow that man. Yes, he's my business partner, one of my best friends. But that dude is my mentor. He's taught me a lot and I still learn from him. And I never take the proximity for granted. And I remember him specifically telling me this. Like, bro, you've got to be mindful of what questions you're not only asking others so that you can better serve, but what questions are you asking yourself? Right? When I first met him, I wasn't clear on my purpose or what I wanted to create. Then he had me on and he's like, bro, what do you want? Like, what do you actually want? I was like, Like, I was like, satellite. I want to be successful, bro. He's like, okay, well, like, what is that to you? And I was able to learn the importance of being specific, right? And now I'm in the process of helping people understand that concept as well. And I'm just grateful because each one definitely teaches one, right? And one of the questions we ask is, when you're helping somebody think, like, what is one question or what is one word that you would use to describe yourself? And that made me very reflective over my life. And the one word for me is faithful, right? And later in the chapter, he said that they define faith from Philip Yancey, and it said that faith is trusting in advance, but will only make sense in reverse. Seeing what is unseen and believing for it until it is seen. That's been my whole life, y'all. From before I went to college and I graduated, just before we had TGF in this amazing environment, I've always had faith in something better. And this irritating, annoying pull in my life that would not allow me to just settle. And I'm grateful for that pull because my greatest fear is just being average. Like, I don't want to go my entire life. I know that I had potential and not apply intention to go and change that. And it really all changed for me once I implemented blocks of time in my schedule to take care and understand me, to hold myself in a mirror and be brutally honest about the things that I'm doing well and the things that I am lacking and faltering. And I believe if you add that layer of honesty, like brutal honesty, like you put aside the answers you think you're supposed to say, and you answer with the answers that are actually true to your scenario, who you are and what you want. I believe your self-esteem would grow, your confidence would grow, your actions would multiply, your life would be completely different. How do I know that? Because for 5 years, I just knew the things. I applied to things, but without consistency. I applied to things with a fraction of the discipline that I'm applying them now. And the big difference between the last 5 years compared to the first 5 years is my thought. I personally saturate with my mind with the word of God, and then I allow the word of God to guide me, and I go gain both spiritual and and worldly knowledge. The only way we gain wisdom is if we apply that knowledge, right? And he said in chapter 4, or chapter 3, he said we can implement changes and course corrections as a result. We are also better equipped to teach others from the wisdom that we have granted. We are better equipped to teach others from the wisdom that we have been granted. I think people, because we only hear the words intelligence, smart, and wisdom, and sometimes mostly in the setting of a traditional school. But y'all, everybody can have all the knowledge in the world and have zero wisdom. Wisdom literally comes from the application. When you doing the things, gives you the ability and the criteria to help other people. I was telling Sam, you are most qualified to help somebody who you once were. So if you recognize who you were, who you are today, and the changes you're implementing now, not only will you identify the people you can help, but then you can understand that you can help so much more people because you're constantly changing and growing. But most people are way too focused on the outcome that they don't commit to the process. And that's what Wale was talking about on the value section. Excuse me. And that's what consistency essentially makes up. Like you got to know what needs to happen, and then you got to do the things every single day. This is the last thing I want to remind everybody of as I wrap this up, is that when it comes to the law of consistency, I highlighted it. Give me 1 second. All right. It was a quote by Ernest Newman. He says, "The great composer does not set the work before he is inspired, but becomes inspired because he is working." And on the side of it, I wrote, "Motion creates motion." If you're tired and you're confused and you're lost, good. Start taking the first step and watch some clarity start to bring it to your life. If you're confused and you don't feel like what to do next, good. Get a pen and paper and start writing out the things that you want to do and answer the questions that John C. Maxwell presented to you in those first 2 chapters. Everybody's seeking some sense of clarity, not recognizing that the clarity comes after. You've got to do the things to understand. And you won't understand unless you do the things. It's a very simple concept, but that concept changed my life because all I knew was the activity. I never understood why I wasn't consistent in them, but I knew what needed to be done. I just wasn't doing it. And once I dug deep and I got clear of the intention, I got clear of the want, I got clear on the what, I got clear on who I was becoming, I got clear on why I was doing it. Yo, nothing can literally stop me unless I die. Right? If I'm going to the edge or the top of the tallest mountain on the planet I've never climbed before, you either going to see me at the mountaintop or you're going to see me dead on the side because there's no way that I go backwards. I've already started the journey. And I think that's what it matters most, y'all, is that none of it matters unless you take action. And that consistency is not a one-time transaction. It's the last thing I'm going to say. The consistency is not a one-time transaction. I'm glad you had a great 3 days. I'm glad you had a great 3 weeks. I'm glad you had a great 3 months. But you know what's guaranteed? Tomorrow, you're going to have to wake up and do it all over again. Success owes you absolutely nothing. So you either pay the price every single day, because it doesn't matter what has happened or what hasn't occurred. Literally, all you have is right now. And I'm going to go back to the very beginning quote when we started chapter 1. Life is happening now. Are you present? Like, are you awake? Do you recognize the positioning and the timing that you find yourself in? Do you understand thoroughly your gifts and your talents, your successes and your weaknesses? Do you know how you're using your gifts to serve people? What resources do you have to go and execute your game plan? What's your dream and vision? How are you helping other people accomplish this? Or are you in oblivion, looking way too far in the future, or focused way too much in the past, that you allow life to pass you by because it's happening now? It's not happening tomorrow. Happening now. And I believe if you understand the importance of that, you'll always look in the mirror. You'll always prioritize taking some time to reflect so that you can improve and become more efficient and help more people. And you'll remain consistent because you know that this is not a game, y'all. Like, it's literally your life. It is literally your life. And if you recognize that and start to take action, congratulations. Because there are some people that go their entire life never recognizing that truth. So I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Thank y'all for hearing me through my sweat and my pauses for breath. But it's a powerful discussion this AM. I'm excited for the next one. Appreciate you, Russell. You're great all around, and I appreciate you so much. Truly. Let me take real quick what the chapters are for next week. Chapter 6, 7, 8, and 9. We got 4 chapters. Chapter 6, 7, 8, and 9. Should be a good one. I'm excited. Well, the book is pretty thick. I'm not gonna lie to you. And planning it out, I think we're going to spend a little over a month discussing and having conversations over the chapters. So I definitely understand the vibe. I'd like to bring it out a little further, but we do have some more books on deck that we need to get to before the end of the year. And I believe this one is definitely setting the pace and a culture for all of us to really get behind. So grateful for it. Much love, family. As always, see you at the top. The bottom great you got it. Let's get it, fam. God bless y'all. Have a great Saturday. Peace.